The Orange lose on the road against UVA despite better play, making it 3 straight conference losses. And things don't get any easier as the Cuse head to Tallahassee to take on the Seminoles this Saturday at 2 p.m. We'll turn to Joe for that game. Let's go.
Make some noise, Orange fans. It's time for the Cuse Nation podcast with Sean and Joe. Give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/Cuse Nation podcast.
All right, what's up, Cuse Nation? Thanks for tuning in to episode 50. Episode 50 of the Cuse Nation podcast. We can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Play Music, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Pretty much anywhere, so you have no excuse not to listen. And obviously you know where to find us if you're listening. So I'm Sean, alongside my good buddy Joe. Joe, what's up, bro?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. So Syracuse drops 3 in a row. They break 50 points on the road, and they actually played a little better. And in their last 2 games, they lost by 2 against Notre Dame and 7 by 7 against UVA. So I just want to start with this, and then you tell me what you think. Getting to the foul line. In the first 15 games, and Syracuse is 12-3, they averaged 24.1 free throw attempts per game, okay? The lowest number out of any of those games was 18 free throws in one game. Now, that number for 2 games in a row, averaging the past 2 games, is 8.5 attempts against, if you take Notre Dame and UVA, it's 8.5. Their free throw percentage is 71.2. It's the second highest for Syracuse in 15 years, basically, okay? And I mentioned they lost by 2, they lost by 7. That's not even double digits when you add them up. Simple math I can do. So, you know, that's what I see. That's what I take away from those 2 games. That was the biggest difference to me, in my opinion, from both of the last 2 losses, especially Notre Dame, because we only got 6 foul shots in that game. So that is a way, if they can get to the line, that's easier said than done. I'm not going to give it to you for that. If they can get to the line, they can fix some of these issues. I think if they would have got to the line the way at the pace they had been getting to the line, I think they win both of those games. I mean, that's easy for me to say, and it might sound a little homerish, as you would say, but I mean, what do you think? What do you? There he is. What do you think, dude? Because I mean, 24.1. Oh, that's just the actual stat. 24 free throws a game. 24 down to 8.5.
Yeah.
That's a huge. That's like what, 66% off.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. I think it has something to do with. I think it has something to do with the way the refs called the game, and something to do with the way the defense have basically been learning how to play against Syracuse. They're not afraid of the outside shot. They're not afraid of the jump shooting. They know that our offense has problems, and they're going to do what they have to do on defense to kind of, stop that part of it. You know what I mean? Just let Syracuse beat them with jumpers. I think that's realistically what we're seeing here. I have a couple other theories as far as, we had talked, and I said, sometimes it may not look like we're getting an huge advantage of fouls because we play a zone and this and that. But as far as those defenses go, they know no team is afraid of Matt Moyer or Chukwa or Sidibe or Merrick down low as far as offense, or outside for that matter. So realistically, it's 3-on-5 out there, and defenses are getting smart enough, especially in the ACC. They're getting smart enough to understand that they come off of those guys that they know really aren't a threat on offense. And when those guys start driving, they're driving into defense, and it's a little bit more difficult to get the foul because the guy that's guarding him knows that there's going to be help. And I think that a lot of it has to do with that. Just like I said, I mean, you're playing against ACC teams, so they're bigger, faster, stronger, with coaches that know how to make it difficult for us. And it's already difficult. We make it difficult ourselves. So that's what I kind of see here. The Notre Dame game, definitely, without a doubt. We talked about that. We hit on that. I thought there were some missed calls, and we definitely could have made up that gap with free throws, without a doubt.
Yeah.
The other one, though, we did shoot 11 against Virginia. We did shoot 11 free throws. They're 22. So even if we got to 20 or even 22 like Virginia, you'd have to hit 7 or 8 out of 10 or whatever to.
Well, we hit 9 out of 11. I mean, if you just go ahead.
Well, I think the turnovers and the fact that Virginia is the number one defense in the nation.
That's very true. That's very true.
I think that had a little bit to do with it because turnovers was a big thing. Virginia, they played very smart, good with the ball. They took care of it up until near the end there when we made a 14-point deficit down to 5 in a minute with that press and the turnovers, but. We can't press like that the whole game. We don't have the legs. We don't have the bodies.
So you don't think they should have started the press a little bit sooner than what they did? I feel like the press is so effective, in my opinion. Especially, I mean, look, the press. I mean, to go back to last year, I know it's a different team, but it's the same press. You go back to last year, down by 20 in the Dome against UVA. They start pressing. I mean, that's how they got back in that game. That's how they beat Duke last year. That's how they came back against Georgetown this year. And the Georgetown press was like a 3 or 4 minute press. I mean, that was or even longer maybe. That was a long time. And who does it wear down more? Who does it wear down more? Really, when you look at it, I mean.
I think it depends on what game.
Yeah, I mean that's true, but it's mentally
type
draining.
Of players you're playing
offense,
against,
though. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned also the turnovers. Howard, once again, he's got to take better care of the ball, and he's becoming such a good player all around. 7 turnovers against UVA, and he leads the league with turnovers. He's got to take care of the ball. Back to free throws real quick. We were hit with 17 personal fouls to Virginia's 12, so a difference of 5. But I feel like they gotta really drive the ball a little bit quicker, or a little bit better. And I know it's one of those things where it's not easy for them to do. It's kind of clogged up in the lanes, and I know that. In fact, he said Brissett said we try to thrive on getting to the foul line. Those are easy points that we can put up, but it didn't do it for us today, and it showed. Battle said they weren't fouling, I guess, sarcastically, and he said we were driving the ball. We didn't go to the line much as a team. That's really it. Just to cap on that.
Right.
You mentioned,
don't get me wrong. I mean, there were missed calls.
There's missed calls, but there's missed calls on both sides. I feel like that game was way better officiated than the Notre Dame game.
Yeah, I thought so too. We got back to our rebounding ways a little bit. And that's what kept us in the game there for a little while. And really, just that little 3-point outburst that Ty Jerome guard had, where he hit 3 in a row there late in the second half, was really what put that gap up there. So let's not kid ourselves though either. They're the number 3 team in the nation. So going into that, you got to be realistic. Yeah, it'd be a great win, but that type of game on the road, especially considering what's happened the last 2 times we played Virginia. Yeah, I mean, if you remember,
once in the Elite Eight too. I mean, we were huge underdogs in that game when we took them out.
Right,
that was another game they led.
We won in the Elite Eight, and that was a great comeback. And then last year we won at home, and that was a great comeback. That was 2 of Tony Bennett's worst losses as far as comebacks in his career.
Yeah,
and then now you're talking about they're the number 3 team, and we're going to Charlottesville, and it's the first time that we've played them at home since those 2 last losses that have been pretty devastating. I mean, you can't tell me that those players weren't waiting and chomping at the bit to get us there and get back at us, So,
Yeah,
and again, I think we held our own. I think, honestly, I thought that we played better than we were going to.
Well, it was getting ugly.
Vegas had them set at like an 11.5 point underdog, and I think that we held our own. It's just one of those things with basketball, like we talk about any given night. So you go in kind of with no expectations, and the longer the game goes and you're in there, you can start thinking as a fan, like, hey, we can do this. But then something like that happens, and it just gets frustrating because then it goes from expectations of losing to, oh, we're in it, to now we're talking about, well, we could have won that game. Well, what could we have done better? And who knows? But it could have been a lot worse. Let's put it that way.
It could have been a lot worse, but I think you press sooner, in my opinion. And that's just me looking back at the game, armchair quarterback in this thing, because that's what we do. It's easier said than done. I understand that, but I think you pressed sooner in that game. We made up what was it? How many points in 56 seconds or 55 seconds?
It was 9.
9 points. Yeah, they couldn't handle it, and no one can. You mentioned Kyle Guy. He goes 0 for 7, and then he goes 3 for 3, and it's like the three most crucial.
No, that was Ty Jerome.
Or Ty Jerome. That's who did I say?
Kyle Guy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, he went 5 for 11. He's a beast.
Yeah, he is.
What do you even say about that guy? He's awesome from the free throw line. He can take any shot around the perimeter. It does not matter with him.
Man bun or not.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. Ty Jerome, I'm sorry, went 0 for 7, ended up going 3 for 3 at the worst time possible for us.
Right.
And one good thing. I want one good thing, and then we can wrap this up. Pascal Chukwu. He gathered in 16 rebounds, 10 offensive boards for Pascal.
Yeah.
9 points, not too bad. He had 2 blocks, no turnovers. He even had an assist, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I thought he played great. There were some plays that he made where, I actually couldn't believe it. And I think it was late near the game where Frank Howard, he drove and missed it, and Chukwu came out of nowhere and tipped it in off the backboard, and I was like, what? Just one of those plays that you didn't know he had. It's like he finds it so difficult for him to just turn around and dunk when he's running underneath the basket that you don't see that type of move coming where he's running as fast as he can coming up and just does a little bank layup, I don't know, off a rebound. It was athletic. You could definitely tell that the coaches got into him about the physicality and what he's going to have to do to compete with these big bodies in the ACC, and he definitely came to play. So
he did, and he really, really jolted us on the boards. We went 19 and 22 on the boards, 19 offensive, 22 defensive, for a total of 41 to their total 31. That's great. I think you do that if you can keep doing that and draw some fouls, and Pascal can, kind of hang in there and do what he can do. You're going to see it start to gel. The problem is the consistency is it's killing me. It's killing me. I wish that they could just play consistent. And, you held a really good offensive team to 68 points. I think that's pretty good. Pascal gets my player of the game award, though, without a doubt.
Like you said, too, we scored 61 against the best defensive team.
True.
Compared to what we were doing off of Notre Dame. So, to take some positives out of it. The number 3 team on the road, like you said last week, obviously the road will always continue for us this year.
They continue in the ACC.
At least in the ACC, yeah. So, I would like to, last year, we had a good offense, but our defense was really, really bad. So I know that a lot of times Jim Boeheim, he tried to, slow the game down to lower the offensive possessions that the other team had because of how bad our defense was. And this year I feel like we have to start doing the opposite. Our defense is good. It creates fast break opportunities, off of turnovers and rebounds and stuff like that. And I just feel like with the amount of the lack of offense firepower that we have, we need to maximize as many offensive possessions as possible and just let our defense handle its own. I know other teams. You see what I'm saying? Like, I know other teams, they're going to go slow and they're going to work around and get a good shot. But, I mean, if we're going to just dribble around and pass the ball around for 18, 20, 25 seconds just to take a bad shot or just to drive to the hoop and maybe not get the call, then let's just do that with about 15, 16 seconds. Just lower it down.
Yeah. Bring it down to like 5 seconds.
Right. Just go. Just attack. Just maximize, because why are you going to take all that clock down just to get it? I mean, I know you want to work for a good shot, but at some point you got to kind of call a spade and just understand that it is what it is, and they just have to get as many offensive possessions as possible. So, I mean, if you're usually going to hold the ball for 30 seconds to get a bad shot, why don't you just do it for 18, for 15, try to get more possessions. So.
Yeah, when you have an offense that largely has to create their own opportunities, not a whole lot of play calling and things like that.
It's a lot of one-on-one pick and roll stuff, man. Yeah,
you gotta. I agree. It depends on the situation. Since our defense is that good, I agree. I never thought about that. Good point. Any final thoughts on UVA?
No.
No. Okay.
No. It was a game we could have won. We were in it. It could have been a lot worse, and we did look a little bit better. So again, just all you can really do is just grow from it. If we can score that many points against Virginia, our defense is good enough to where there's going to be a decent amount of games left where we can score 61 and win. So
I would say get to the foul line, and I'll keep saying it until they start doing it again. So
get to the foul line, limit turnovers.
Yeah, UVA. In the books. That's all we have to say about that. All right, Joe. Syracuse heading on the road again to Florida State, Tallahassee. All-time record, Syracuse 9-2 against FSU. Joe, let's hear your breakdown. Make us feel good. Break it down. Make us feel good. Tell us what we need to do.
No,
we're gonna get Joe's gonna beatbox one day on the show too. No. Yeah, we're gonna wait till my brother comes back for some tournament talk.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. So, Florida State, 12-4. They're 1-3 in the ACC. Not that they're having a bad little 4-game streak in the ACC, but their opponents, they've lost to Duke in a high-scoring game. They actually beat North Carolina at home, and then they lost at Miami, and then they just actually lost to Louisville the other night and broke like a 28 home game win streak or something like that. So they've definitely had a little bit of a gauntlet. So as far as if you're going to look at talent and who they've played, we're probably one of the weakest team they've played in the ACC, to date. So they were ranked a couple weeks ago before they played Miami.
No, they were ranked last night against Louisville.
Oh, they were ranked. Okay,
23rd.
Well, okay, yeah. So they're still going to be ranked then. But the worst thing, I mean, I wish that it didn't happen, because usually when a team has a streak like that and they're good at home like that, then all that's going to do really is piss them off if they lose a game like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just because they had a lead. And, actually, I think Louisville had a big lead, right? And then
Florida State was ahead most of the game. Louisville cut it to within 3 by the end of the first half. I think it was like 12 or 14 for FSU.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
no, I know. I watched a little bit of that game. I didn't get to see the end, but
it was a late one.
Yep.
It's 9 o'clock.
So it's just it's a Leonard Hamilton team. He goes deep. He plays a lot of guys. I think I saw there was something like 8 or 9 guys that average over 15 minutes a game, and that has something to do with injuries and stuff like that too. They actually have a 7'4" center. So we think Chuk was tall. They got a 7'4" center, and he's got a little bit more meat than Chuk. He is coming back from a foot injury. I don't know if he's really got minute restrictions or if he's back full, like 100% can go, but he subs in and out. He usually has a pretty deep rotation. And again, like I said, they have the 7'4" center, but after that, it really looks like they only go about 6'8" or 6'9" as far as their tallest guy with forwards. But but they do have tall guards. Terrence Mann, 6'6", junior guard, and he's their second leading rebounder. He's their leading scorer. Terrence Mann, he's pretty much the guy that you are looking at as far as trying to stop. I know they do have some good outside shooters, but against us, anyone can go hot. So I think the only thing that's really good for us is that we have Jim Boeheim's got a very good record against Leonard Hamilton. There's been a lot of years, and they were ranked last year, and we beat them. I think they were a top 10 team when we beat them last year, actually. And they lost a couple guys to the NBA over the offseason, so they're rebuilding, but they still have the talent and the coaching and defense to still be a top 25 team. So they're definitely going to pose a problem. And like I said, my biggest worry is the fact that they have motivation to get back on some type of winning streak at home, and we're just the next team up. So
all right,
definitely going to be a little interesting, So
yeah,
but we're in the game with Virginia, so I don't see why. I think a lot of the games are going to be similar. We're going to be right there, and it's going to be making plays at the end of the game.
Joe, you mentioned 7'4" center, and we've got Chuk, who has a problem with 6'10" guys. So so what is Chuku going to have to do to throw his weight around a little bit more, or how's he going to have to approach something like that?
It's going to be tough.
He's probably listening, so.
No, he may be. The good thing is that he is, I think, small enough really to where he can play aggressive and not really look it. You get some guy who's a big old boy. If he throws his weight around, you're going to see it, and there possibly could be offensive rebound, stuff like that. So he just needs to be smart with the fouls, and we talked about it earlier in the season. He wasn't smart, and it seems like he's kind of got that under control because he hasn't really been in foul trouble lately. But after that Notre Dame game, he got pushed around by some guys that were a little bit shorter but a little bit bigger. And he's seeing the ACC is no joke. And in this past game, he came out, he played physical, he stayed out of foul trouble. He said it was probably his best performance against, considering the talent in a Syracuse uniform. So, again, that's the type of stuff that we need to see because we know we have in our big three, but it's everybody else. And we're kind of waiting as fans to see who's going to step up, or is this really going to be what it is? And Chuk was in a pretty good position to do that, as long as he can still continue to learn and be smart but physical at the same time. And that's what he's going to have to be, because if he's not, then these guys are going to. That's one thing Florida State does do. They hit the boards and they're very talented, physical, and again, like I said, they might not have the length at forward, but they got 6'6" guards, experienced guards that can get in there, and they're grown men, 22, 23-year-old guys that are going to get in there and push you around. So it's just one of those things. We can't get bullied. We're a little bit smaller, albeit taller and longer, but other teams are stronger and they're more experienced. So that's another thing that we have to worry about that hampers us throughout the season. It's going to be that, and obviously our offense, unless someone else steps up. So if Chuka can do that, then that'll be a big help. But this is a tall task, literally and figuratively.
I mentioned a couple episodes ago when I watched the FSU Duke game, my head was spinning because of the pace of the game and the amount of points scored. You mentioned earlier about wanting to kind of like speed up on offense a little bit. Against a team that plays this fast-paced and can score, do you want to reel that in a little bit and maybe limit some of their time with the ball, or do you want to stick with that? You think we should speed it up a little bit, kind of try to play at their pace and hope that maybe our defense can create some opportunities out of just, absent-mindedness just because of they're just not used to the zone?
Well, our defense is going to slow the pace regardless. You could be the fastest team in the country, and you're not going to be the fastest team that night. And as far as Duke goes, the points they put up against Duke's got awful defense. And you see the points that NC State put up on Duke. Duke can score, but their defense is awful. So I really don't think that their pace is going to be too crazy. As long as we can get back on defense and get our defense set up and they don't beat us down there, and we don't allow a bunch of offensive rebounds, and I think our defense is going to do what it has to do, just like almost every game this year, to allow us to win.
Okay.
And I think that what's going to help us is if we can get those defensive rebounds and get out. And what I mean by speed up is we speed up our offense, not speed up our defense, because our defense is going to create a natural pace regardless. So that's going to stymie them for a little while. They're going to have to figure it out. And again, like I said, I think we're 7-2 against Florida State since we joined the ACC, something like that, or maybe it's 7-2. Jim Boeheim against Florida State. I don't know, but
it's 9-2 all time. It's 9-2 all time. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, again, we've had recent success, and the only times that I feel like Florida State's beaten us recently is when we've just had a game where we were a little off on offense and they were just nailing threes. So, I mean, that's just kind of really what I'm looking for. I mean, when I talk about pace, I'm saying when we get the ball, let us get down there. Let our guys try to get down there and beat those guys to the defense so that they can try to get easy fouls and go to the free throw line, stuff like that, But
yeah. Well, I want this game. I want this game mainly because we need it. But they are still ranked. They won't be next week. And if we could put that on the back burner and have it said that we have beaten a ranked team this year. I mean, the other ones are going to be tough. We're going to have plenty of opportunities. They're going to be tough. So I guess we'll just have to see.
Yeah, well, Saturday. Like I said, it's just like any game. I mean, every game is going to be the same. That's the one thing that I'm just not that worried about. Like last year, there was teams where, our offense was up and down last year. Sometimes it was great. Sometimes it was just really ugly to watch. But the one constant was that our defense gave up points. And so last year, I mean, albeit we beat up, we beat Duke. We didn't beat them up, but we beat Duke. But Duke had its problems last year. Like last year, I was worried about North Carolina, teams like that. Like we played against experienced, good scoring teams. Like it was ugly last year. And just this year, I don't feel the same way. I just feel like we're going to be in every game. It's just what are we going to do at the end? So
yeah,
we can talk about how tough our opponents are going to be and this, and that. But right now in the ACC, I don't really see anybody. I mean, there's teams, and we could get blown out, but I don't see any team that's really that much better than Kansas, or I just don't see a team that
UVA. What team are we going to play in ACC play that's UVA?
No, I mean, you got UVA and you got Duke and you got, North Carolina's going to be up there. Miami and Clemson are up there right now. So who really knows? That'll end up working itself out. But I mean, I look at it like with our defense, we just scored 60. As bad as our offense has been, we just scored 61 against the number one defense in the country at their place. So, I mean, if we can do that, then that's going to keep us in any game as long as our defense does what it's supposed to do. So
the difference there was the rebounds. If it wasn't the foul shots, it had to have been the rebounds. So I think that's why we were able to do that. And I think that's why we were able to put up 70 points, a couple times earlier in the season. It's because we were hitting the boards, but we were also getting the foul shots. See, that's when you put together a full game, that's what this team is capable of. So
no, it's just the little things. The little things,
yeah.
Literally, like if
it was that Virginia Tech game, Joe. That was exactly what that Virginia Tech game was. The first like full game that they had put together on both sides of the ball and really finished in completed a full game without too many issues.
Right, and that's really. I mean, they talk about talent and scoring and this. When you have that type of defense that we have, like I said, it's not like out of this world, but it's good enough to beat any team on any given night. And if we can, if we can limit turnovers, if we can get to the free throw line and we can get second chance points and out rebound on our opponent, then we're going to be in every single game with that defense. So that's really what it is. You can say we're limited on offense, and that's one thing. I mean, when you have offense like Duke, then you're allowed to, not do certain things here and there. But with us, like our room for error is very, very small because of our offense. So those three things, if we can do those, then with this defense, we're going to be in any game, in any game this year, in my opinion.
That's right, Joe. All right, Saturday at 2:00 in the afternoon. on ACC Network.
I hope.
Yeah, well, ACC Network or the ESPN app, I suppose.
No, I was talking about in the afternoon. I hope it's not at 2 a.m.
Oh, yeah, right. Good point. Goes without saying. I gotcha. Good one.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's it. That's it. We're going to after Florida State, it's Pittsburgh on Tuesday. So we'll try to get back if we can. That game's at 9:00. Jeez, 9:00 on Tuesday. It is a home game, though. It is a home game.
Yeah.
So
and Pittsburgh right now statistically is the worst team in the ACC this year so far. So
yeah. All right, well, that's it. Episode 50 in the books. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to go to facebook.com/Cuse Nation podcast. Thumb us up there. For Sean. Did it again. For Joe. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out. Later.
peace.
You just heard the Cuse Nation podcast with Sean and Joe.